We are looking at the if selection structure, where the structure was something like if some condition and then there were some statements. And here is an example of what we are looking at. So, here you can see that if A is greater than B and also greater than C, here is the logical connective. So, then this statement will be executed. So, in English we can just call it like if the condition is true, then if the condition is true, then execute a set of statements. So, in this case the set of statements is just only this printf. Otherwise, if this condition is true, then this statement will be printed. So, this is what we discussed in the last class. Now, one thing for those who will be writing programs in C, you should remember that this condition is always within a parenthesis, and within that parenthesis there can be a composite expression, which is here you can see there is a logical expression, here is another logical expression, and here is a composite logical expression joining them by and, or it could be by or, etc. So, in that way we can form the condition statement, and if the condition statement is true, then these things will be executed. We will see more examples as we go ahead. So, let us look at a little more different, a little more extension of the structure here. Here we are going to see the if else structure. What we actually want to mean is if a condition is true, then we will be doing these things, and if the condition is false, then I will do these things. Let me clarify it a little bit more. Suppose I write if x is greater than 5, increment x by 1 and printf new value of x is percentage d backslash n x. All right. That means, if x is greater than 5, suppose x is an integer, I am assuming that x is an integer here. So, somewhere up here I have written int x equal to, or int x, just int x, and later on I have assigned x to be 7. All right. Now, when I encounter this condition evaluates to true, then I come to this set of statements, because this condition is true. So, what will be the value of x now? X was 7, it is greater than 5, therefore, x will be 8, and what will be printed? New value of x is 8, that is what will be printed. Now, suppose I write printf x not greater than 5. What I intend to do is, if this condition is true, then this will be printed, otherwise this will be printed. That is what my intention is, that is what I want to do, but the way I have written it will actually do something different. You see, when the execution will be done, you know the execution is normally done in a sequential manner. So, here we will come x is greater than 5, x is 7. So, x is greater than 5, this thing will be printed and will come out and come to this next statement. Let me number these statements. Say this statement was 1, this was 2, this was 3. Now, see, I am calling this entire if statement to be a single statement. So, 3 and then 4. So, normally 1 will be executed, then 2, then 3. Now, 3 will be executed because x is greater than 5. So, this condition is true, and then what will be executed? 4. So, what will be the output? What will be written? Here new value of x is 8 will be printed, and here when 4 is executed, again it will be printed x not greater than 5, but that was not my intention. So, in order to avoid that, I can write a new statement. Here there was an if I write here else this, that means what? If this condition is true, then print this, otherwise that means if this condition is false, then do this, and then number 5 can be something else and that will be executed. So, what will be the execution? Suppose x is equal to 4. Let us try to write down what is the execution sequence then. 1, then 2. Now, x is equal to 4, therefore, this condition will be false, this condition will be false. Therefore, this statement 3 will not be executed, this part of 3 will not be executed. Then we will come to this else statement, that means if the condition is false, then I am coming over here, and so 4 will be executed, 4 will be executed, 3 will not be executed completely, and then 5 will be executed. But if I had not put this else, then what would have happened? In this case, if x is 4, in that case this will not be true, only this statement will be printed, fine, there will not be much problem. But suppose x is equal to 7, and if this else is not there, then what will be printed? X is 8, x not greater than 5. But if I put the else here, if I put the else here, I am probably repeating a little bit more because a lot of students face difficulty in this structure. So, if I put else here, in that case this will be x is 7. So, this will be printed, and at this else this condition was true. So, this part will not be executed, this part will be executed only if the condition was false. So, this contradictory situation would not occur, all right. So, let us look at some examples of this if statement, if else. It is also a single entry single exit structure. It allows us to specify two alternate blocks of statement, one of which is executed, any one of them, depending on the outcome of the condition. Essentially what we are trying to say is that I will have a single entry point to a decision box, and I will check for some condition I will test that particular condition. If that condition is true, then I will do some set of statements, let us call that S1. Otherwise, if it is false, then I will carry out some S2, all right, and then I will be meeting maybe at some other point which is S3. So, this structure I can write as if condition, then I have named, I am not writing the statements, I am just writing S1, else S2 and then S3. So, my flow will be either this way and S3 or this way and S3. Okay. If I had not put this else, how would this diagram look like? You have seen this diagram. Now, if I had not put this else, how would the diagram look like? The diagram would look like, if here I have got the condition block, decision box, true, then I do S1 and then I do S2 and S3. So, we will come at this point. If it is false, then I will also come at this point. If it is true, then also I will join at this point, if this else was not there. But since this else is there, then I just separate out their point of joining. All right. We will see more examples of this. So, the general syntax of this is, if condition, then block 1. Block 1 is what I was calling S1, the set of statements, else block 2, the other statements. All right. If a block contains a single statement, then the braces can be deleted. I am sorry. If the block contains a single statement, then these, it is not essential that I put them, but just for the sake of generality, in most of the cases I will have more than one statement, therefore, I am putting that in place. All right. So, the diagram that I was looking at, I was explaining that sort of diagram. Suppose the grade is 60. If the grade is greater than or equal to 60, suppose somebody's grade is or marks is 50, then at this point the condition is false, this part will be executed. If the grade is 70, that is, this condition is true, this part will be executed. Then I will come to this common point. There is a common point which will come. Now, so this I can write as, if grade is 60, see here there was only one statement. So, I need not put, I have not put the braces here, printf passed, else printf failed, and then whatever I had to do, I will do it here. Okay. And then whatever was following, that will follow here. Okay. So, let us come to, so I hope this is clear. So, the syntax of if else, let us look at little bit more. Here I have said block 1. Block 1 means, or S1, whatever you name it. This is block 1, or I had named it as S1, the same set of statements, where there are number of statements each separated by a semicolon. Please note, suppose there are n statements, they are separated by a semicolon. Okay. Now, next I come to this. If I want to do else also, if expression statements 1 to n, else these statements 1 to m. So, this is my block 2 and this is block 1. Okay. So, here we can see that based on this expression, which is a condition evaluation, if this condition is true, I will carry out these statements, else I will carry out these statements. Note that these individual statements have got semicolon, and this is a whole body of the else statement, this is the whole body of the if statement. So, composite if, this entire thing we call an if else structure. So, if grade is 60, printf passed, else print failed. Now, this next we are coming to a little more complication of the same thing. It is a nesting of if else structure. Now, by this if else, what are we trying to achieve? We are achieving branching. That means, we are carrying out a sequential flow, and from there we made a decision box, and then we branched either in this direction or in this direction. Now, suppose here in this direction this is true and this is false, again I come and make a decision. It can be if x is greater than 5, then I come here, and y is greater than 7, then I do something. Here it can be x is greater than 5, I follow this path, but y is not greater than 7. So, I follow this is true, this is false, I follow this false path. Okay. If x is not greater than 5, I come here and suppose I check z less than 2, true or false, there can be two outcomes. So, suppose x is 4, so not greater than 5, I will come through this path. Now, z is 3, so z is not greater than 2, less than 2, therefore, I will follow this path. So, you see the paths that we follow, that is the branching that we do, can have the path that we follow can have more than one decision box. Say x is greater than x is 7. So, here I was coming in this path, then I follow this path because x is 7, this condition is true, and I find that y is 8. So, I follow this path, all right. If y was 6, then I would have followed this path. So, in the path that the program follows, there can be more than one decision box. So, that is what we mean by nesting of if else structures. Okay. That means, nest one if else statement within another. Now, all statements may not have the else part. Now, rule to be remembered is an else clause is associated with the closest preceding unmatched if. Really confusing. What do I mean by this? Let us look at this. How will this be executed? Here E1 means some expression. If E1 is true, then S1. Else, if E2, then S2. Now, with whom does this else go? This else certainly goes with this preceding if. If I just quickly draw this, the flow chart corresponding to this, how does it look like? I come here and evaluate the expression E1. On true, I do S1. On true, I do S1. On false, here is false, all right. I come here and there is another if here. So, I again check E2. If E2 is true, then I do S2. This statement actually means this graph. If E1 is true, then I will carry out S1, otherwise else is there. So, this else is linked to this if, then I do this one. Okay. What about this? Let us erase this for a while, and how would we interpret this one? Here you can see there are two else's. With whom is this else paired? This else is paired with, I have written it in a bad way, this else is paired with this if. So, this means again I check E1, E1 is true. So, I carry out S1, else false, that means this else is for this decision box. I check here E2, E2 is true. So, I carry out S2 and else I will carry out S3. This is what I am trying to do. Now, here I would have preferred to write it in a better way. That is why, if you recall, in a earlier lecture we had talked about a good program writing practice, that is through indentation. I would have liked to write it in this way: if E1 then S1, else if E2 then S2, else S3, which makes it very clear that this else is corresponding to this if, and this if, this else is corresponding to this if, right. Let us look at the third scenario. What does it mean? If E1, if E2 S1, how would I draw that? I draw that like that. I take E1, if E1, that means if E1 is true, I immediately come here and the statement starts with another if, a nested if. This is known as a nested if, one if within another. There is one if statement, there is another if statement within this. This is known as nesting, all right. So, here we are here, if E2 S1. So, immediately I am, there is no else here by the way. So, if E1, then I come here, then if statement is again there. Therefore, there is another decision box where I am checking the condition E2, and if E2 is true, then I will follow, then I will carry out S1, else S2. Which else? Should it be here or there? Now, this is something, this else is pairing with the preceding if. So, it should be false, will be S2. Now, this else is therefore covered, this path is covered. So, this else can only mean this one, and S3 will be, because this is already covered, right. So, this is the nearest one to this, clear. So, if we go to the earlier slide, let me go back to the presentation. So, here this one, how would this one actually look like? How will this one look like? There is something still there. So, how will this one look like? Coming straight here, if E1, if the condition is met, then I again test here if E2, this is true, this is true, then I come and do it here S1, and else, this else is again with this if. So, it will be here S2, and I have not specified this one here, all right. So, if you put a little bit of mind here, so you can see many different other scenarios that can come, and we can proceed accordingly. Let us see here. This one, as I was saying, it would be nicer to write it in this way, because here you may feel okay, there are two else's, two if, who goes with whom. Now, here if I write it in this way, if E1 S1 else, that means this if else if E2 S2. Here if E1 S1 else if E2 S2 else S3. So, this else is therefore with the, I am sorry, I think I will have to go back to a couple of slides. You see, an else clause, I would like to be corrected a little bit. An else clause is associated with the closest preceding unmatched if. Any if that is not there, that should be it should match with that. So, that is what I explained in these examples. Okay. So, it is a much better, for example, let us look at this. How do I like to write this? If E1, I would not prefer this also. I would prefer that I write it in this way. If E1, then if E2 S1 else S2. Okay. Then it becomes very clear. This if else and else are very clear. Say for example, here also this is better, but still I would prefer to write this one as this is one way. I can write if E1 if, then I mean this is the part of if E2 S1 else S2, and under this if, that is what has been done here, else S3. Okay. So, what we have learned today is a nesting of another structure. What we are discussing now is how we can have a better or more versatile flow. Normally, it is a sequential flow, but based on the decision points, I may have to take different paths, which is known as branching, right. And for branching or selecting the proper path, the structure is if, and along with that we have learnt today if else structure, and we have seen how if else structure can be nested to give rise to some better more versatile scenarios. We will continue with this in the next lecture. Thank you.